But how is everybody tonight?
Hello, everybody. How are we? If you're in Perth at the moment, you'll agree it's so gloomy and sad outside.
I have not been outside since this morning when
I
I got a new fridge. Just quietly, I know it's not
Ooh!
gaming related, but I got a new fridge and it was delivered this morning,
Oh,
and I
how
was very
exciting!
happy.
I'm
Um,
getting our stream up. Here we go.
yeah,
I have not been outside either. I can just hear how rainy and gross and terrible it looks, so it's just giving me all the more reason to stay inside and get some work done.
always nice. It's been like my my Wednesdays. Like I'm part time at my day job, so I don't work Wednesdays. But Wednesdays has turned into like one of my busiest days of the week because like I
Mm.
do the pre-record for Nuts and Bolts, which airs on Thursday, and I try and get some other bits and pieces in and try and organize things and then all of a sudden it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I need to eat and then getting ready for the weekly show. I mean, it's
Busy
busy.
day.
It's busy, but it's so
Oh,
good though. I love it. I love it.
yeah. Hopefully this is the last thing you have planned for today.
It very much is, and I don't. I was about to say I don't know
Oops.
why, but Stormy's disappeared, but she's back now.
No, that's
That's
fine.
good.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. That's just my camera doing camera things, but it's all good. But yeah, hopefully this is the last relaxing thing of your day. You can
well,
unwind after this.
just quietly, it kind of is, but isn't. So after the show, like I do stuff and get the show ready to go onto our podcast platforms, which we've switched it over to Anchor. So get that ready and get just do more editing and make sure I do
Never
that.
stops. Never
Oh no,
stops. Look
it's
at
like
you,
it's the longest.
absolute powerhouse.
Yeah, just so that's a peek behind the curtain there. It turns into a big day, but like I said, I love it. I love it. I love talking to people. Like today, we had for Nuts and Bolts, we had a really good chat with some people, which you'll have to tune in tomorrow night to see what it was all about. But yeah, it was really good having a chat, and of course, tonight on Game On I was about to say, my mind just went. Boop. So I know I know you have to talk right now, but I need to go and do something else. So, but yes, we're here with the Game on Oz weekly show, and let's jump into it. I feel like
Hmm.
I've monopolized enough of the time here, so I'm going to do it a little bit more, but this time with some bloody good games of the week, thanks to Aussie Broadband.
So we'll start with you tonight. What's your bloody good game of the week?
So I've been playing this one on Xbox Game Pass called Echo Generation. It's this really sort of funky looking voxel graphics. So for those that don't know, because it took me a while to remember what voxels were, it's basically 3D pixels. So it looks really, really blocky, but it's just got this charm to it. And it's uh, sort of a mystery. The best way I can describe the atmosphere of the game is it's very Stranger Things like. It's like
Okay.
it has this mystery in there, and there was a couple of parts in there where there was like genuine jump scares and scared the
Oh,
crap out of
what?
me. Like yeah, like it doesn't happen all the time, but just this one little bit just scared the crap out of me. Um, but it's got these fights in it for turn-based combat, um, which was really cool. I did. If you're watching on twitch.tv/Game on Oz, you can see at the moment one of those going on. So this is a pretty early battle, so it's sort of teaching you how the battles go, and as you
Beat up a
progress,
raccoon.
yeah, that's it. Because raccoons, they're trash pandas. You know, you don't care about that. Although that said, because you get as you go through the game, you get your sister joins you in the party, and then you get pets which you can swap in and out. And one of the pets that you get is a raccoon.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's and that's quite cool. Although I did find myself only using the cat mainly because the cat had a healing ability, so that just
Oh, okay.
made
So they're
things a
like
bit
just
easier.
your little support character then.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
different roles. So kind of like the main abilities you get as the main character, like you can get some stuns and bleeding damage and poison damage and stuff like that. So it's just different sort of abilities, really. And you expand those as you go through the game. You find comics, and they give you different abilities as well. So
Oh,
it's
sweet.
Yeah, it's quite fun. I've been really enjoying it. I will say,
How did you come across this one?
I
Sorry.
just on Games Pass. It was one of my trawling through
Oh,
Game Pass, and
okay.
I just went, cool. What's this one like? And it looked interesting. It's got some puzzle stuff in it as well. So like you'll get to a certain bit, and you'll need to go. All right, I need to get this thing to give to this person to progress the story. So then you've got to go and search out and find where that thing is. So like at one point to get to the next section, you got to find a bus pass. So you got to say somebody's got this bus pass, cool, but they want this. So it's a little bit fetch questy sometimes, but
Okay.
it feels good. It feels like that little puzzle atmosphere. There were two things that I'll say that could do with some improvement. One is that the only way to refill your health is to either use healing items that you can get, like cookies and like various little food things and stuff like that, or sleep in a bed. But I think I only found 3 beds in the whole game, and this is like a
Yeah.
5-6 hour game. So they were very spread out. Actually, I'll add a third thing to there, because everything is quite spread out. There's no fast travel system, so you're
Oh.
walking between things a lot. And towards the end of
Is
the
it a big
game,
map?
it's a reasonably big map for a game of this size. It is fairly spread out. Still fairly full of stuff as well. But also, like, the last thing I'll say about it, just a slight little downside, is that if you get stuck on a boss, if you wipe out and die, there's not a save point it takes you back to. It just takes you back to when you entered that area.
Oh.
But then it also starts you with half health. So if you're struggling on a boss,
Oh.
you get stuck there, and there's not really. It does have that RPG sort of stuff where you get experience and get better stuff as you go along, but there's not really a place where you can grind out those levels if you're struggling either. So
Yeah.
some of the boss fights can get a little bit grindy sometimes, but
Yeah.
but other than that, it's got this really cool little story in it. It's very atmospheric, and it feels really nice. I like it. That's
It
my.
looks like. Oh, go on.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say, well, that's my bloody good game of the week, thanks to Aussie Broadband.
I was gonna say it looks like you've been thrown into somebody's like Lego world that they've like built up like from scratch, like the whole kind of like town or little suburb, and they've just thrown a little character in there. I love the art style of it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, like the art style is really cool, and even like I said, the jump scare part of it was, you go into the school and it's the weekend or the holidays or something, so nobody's in school. But there's been this one kid who said, "Oh, I think there's ghosts in there," and at the time I didn't think anything of it, and so because I go ha 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 ha, there's like science fiction-y sort of stuff going on, so you're going, "Oh, I'm not expecting ghosts in my science fiction game. Come on," and I'm walking down. There's this left to right hallway that you're walking down, and there's another hallway that comes off it in like a T-junction, so you can see all the way down it. And I'm walking left to right, and all of a sudden there's like these flashing sort of bits of a ghost there, and like the sounds that go with it, and I just shat myself. I just went, Jesus, can't do that to a guy. Come on. But yeah, no, it's been really good. I do really like it, so I can recommend it, especially if you got Game Pass just on there. It's good fun.
So did you end up finishing it then?
I did, yeah. I finished it
Yeah.
in 2 sittings. I think it must have been about 6 hours in the end. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah, a decent length for a little indie game there, because I was having a look at it. It's made by a developer called Coco Cucumber.
What a cool name.
I know. I was just thinking that myself. Like, it's just, and we mentioned it before the show in our little pre-show bit, but like all I could think of when I saw that was Coco Melon, like, and which is like a kid's cartoon. I've never seen it. I just know my niece talks about it all the time. Her last birthday party was Coco Melon themed, and that's just where I go. But yeah, no, it's a cool little game. Definitely recommend it. It's yeah, it's just got this charm to it, and I can highly recommend.
Well, before I get into mine, I'm gonna quickly just go to the chat for a second.
Mm.
Hello to Charlie Golf, Fat Gamer, Doom Cutie, Gamma. Gamma says, I've been playing Veil VR. It's a first-person shooter game built for VR, and it's made by a 25-year-old.
Ooh.
Pretty cool. And Doom Cutie's right. We're very close, halfway through to the weekend now. Very exciting. And Raven Sky, our own Raven. Thank you so much for the sub to the channel as well.
Oh,
Nice
amazing.
to have everyone here.
Thanks, Raven.
We've got very familiar faces all here.
That's it.
Some of our own team here too.
Mm-hmm.
We love to see it. I'll talk about my bloody good game of the week, which I played on launch, or not on launch, a few days after launch, and it's Bear and Breakfast. It was Bear and Breakfast. I came across it really randomly on Twitter, I think it was. I don't know how, but I just saw that it was, saying that this was the release date, it's coming out soon, and I went, oh, this looks really cute, and I followed it without much knowledge of what the game actually was. I just loved the art style, and the bear was cute, and I was like, well, that's good enough for me. And then I don't think there's any better way to kind of describe it except how the actual website does. So I'm just going to read off it. It's pretty straightforward. So you build and run a bed and breakfast in the woods, but you're a bear. And all the people coming in, like the tourists that are visiting, your part of the forest, like where you live, they're all humans. And this game's made by Gummy Cat and published by Armor Game Studios. So it's on Steam at the moment, and it's coming to Switch soon. They don't have a date for it just yet. But this game, I love management games, and I love any games that kind of require some element of building and things like that as well. And this kind of scratched the perfect itch for me. I streamed it when I first played it, and I could not stop. I was so invested from the beginning, not just because of the building aspect, because it can be quite addictive, but the actual characters and the dialogue. It was really funny. Like, there's some really great lines in there, some surprisingly like a little bit dark or a little bit too real, which I wasn't expecting from such a cutesy kind of game. But it's got such a good sense of humor, because basically Hank and I've forgotten the name of the two other characters that you meet at the very beginning. They decide that they want to make a load of cash. As you do. As you do. Who doesn't? And long story short, they decide they're going to open up a bed and breakfast right next to their home. And basically, as you build your bed and breakfast and you add things like your beds and your cabinets and you start decorating, you have to meet certain comfort and decorative requirements of each guest that comes in to like maximize the amount of money that you make, which is really cool. So every day that kind of cycles through, you have to go to your little reception desk that you build up and book in the guests that come in. And ideally, you want to have guests that match the kind of status of each room that you've built up and things like that. So what we have on the screen now is the first bed and breakfast that you build, and you have a little crafting station and everything too, that you can go and kind of develop and craft more things for in there. But the map itself is actually pretty big, because you'll start creating more B&Bs as you go, and they'll start to require different things. Like, I think where I left off, you had to start putting in things like a bathroom. Even you have specialty rooms for certain. I think we ended up putting like some kind of bar or something in one of the B&Bs.
My type of B&B.
Like, little keg and stuff. Yeah. To like and it was all about just, I guess, it kind of gave me a little bit of The Sims meets, The Sims meets, no, City Skylines is such a bad example, but that's the only other game I could think of where I'm like, okay, these people living here in this kind of area have this kind of status they have to meet for, things like hygiene and things like that. It kind of reminded me of that kind of concept. That's probably the best way I can describe it for myself. But yeah, there's some really interesting other characters you meet along the way. They're all quite different and have their own little sense of humor as well, which is really endearing. And yeah, I loved it. You could spend ages going back and forth between the B&Bs and wanting to redecorate and increase the comfort and the decoration scores for each room and things like that. It's very easy to get lost in and carried away with. But apparently there's in this kind of story that they have for the game, I've seen online the people behind this game were like, do not spoil like the ending or any of the stories for people. And I'm like, oh my god, like what's going on? Like what have I not gotten up to yet if they're saying no spoilers? Because on on the surface it does look like just a cozy little management kind of game, but there's definitely more to it than it's letting on, I think. So I'm keen to play a bit more, but it's a beautiful, there's no other word I can say apart from cozy kind of game to play. And I think I'd be very tempted to play this on the Switch when it comes out for Switch 2. This looks like the perfect Switch game to just get under the covers with, especially on weather like today where it's so dark and gloomy and cold outside. And put on a little bear and breakfast. Yeah.
I am curious about the story though, because like the trailer makes it look like this management sim that just like I say, nice little cozy game, but then right at the end of it, there's like, but there's a secret hidden in the little town of whatever it is. Like, yeah, and the fact that you said that the devs are saying, please don't spoil the story for people, makes me very curious as to what the story is actually about.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm intrigued as well. Like at the very beginning of the game, when you're introduced to the story, there is something dark and sinister that is kind of going on. So when I was kind of meeting the characters for the first time at the very beginning of playing, I went, oh, is this going to have some weird dark turn, or like what's coming up that I don't know about, or even doubting the fact like other humans that are coming into the B&B. It's funny actually. If you look at Hank at the moment, he's just a bear. Like he's plain like big brown bear. And when the visitors first start coming in, they look very scared, obviously, because they're humans and it's a big bear. But I didn't realize they stopped being scared at me until I started putting on things like I found a hat. And as soon as I put on the hat or a pair of pants or something, they just chilled out entirely. So I was like, oh.
They weren't scared. They were just prudes. They don't like nakedness.
Oh, yeah, I was like, oh, is it because Hank isn't wearing any clothes? But yeah, no, I'm really, really intrigued because since that beginning of the game, I haven't seen anything that's indicated there's anything dark or sinister or something else lurking on or lurking within this kind of area that you're playing in. So yeah, I'm really, really keen to get back into it. I absolutely love this game.
So how much outside of, because like this kind of looks like a almost not Animal Crossing, but that sort of cool, let's build our bed and breakfast and we'll go and collect resources so we can build it. That is that what the game, because like I said, the trailer sort of gives the impression that there's a little bit more like puzzles and searching to it to unlock the story. Have you gotten to anything like that? Yeah.
Well, there's been a few quests, like maybe a few fetch quests and things like that I've had to do when it comes to meeting certain characters, because there are humans around, like I think off memory only 2 humans that I've met so far who are interacting with you despite the fact they don't understand what you're saying because you're a bear, but they're sending you out to do things. So there is other kind of storylines or little indicators telling you a little bit more about why the humans don't visit this area anymore and things like that, because once you kind of build your first B&B, you're free to kind of do what you want, and that's all down to how quickly you do the rest of the side quests or the fetch quests and things like that, because what will happen is once you start progressing to the next day, you'll go into your B&B once it's all built up, you'll just add in a guest that you want to come visit your B&B so you can make that money, and then you'll go and do other things that have got nothing to do with it. So like the management part is very like to the core of this game, like what it wants you to do, but they do give you enough things to kind of get on with apart from that. Yeah, it's interesting.
Sounds interesting. Yeah,
I feel like I've only scratched the surface with this, because I think when I left off, I think I was onto my 3rd B&B, and we just opened a diner, which was really interesting. So it looks like this whole cooking element, and you know me, I love my cooking
Yeah.
stuff. That I was like, oh my god, I get to cook stuff, what? And I haven't even delved into that yet, and don't know how it plays into everything else. And there's like a hidden area up in the woods that I've only just discovered, which I haven't even started building yet. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel like I've only scratched the surface, and there's so much more for me to do when I get back. It's very hard to stop playing once you're in the groove of it. Yeah, I highly recommend it if you like any of your building management stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting from what you're saying, because like from the trailer you sort of get the impression where it's a mishmash of genres, but it sounds like the early game is very much just the building side of things.
Yeah, I'm still yet to find out anything more beyond the cozy cuteness of it at this stage. Because I know that there is some underlying thing happening in the story, I'm kind of second guessing everyone I meet, because I'm like, these animals and stuff are so cute, and the fact there's no humans around make me question, you know, are the humans bad? But none of the animals seem to not like the humans. Like they're pretty chill about it. But then I wonder if there's just some hidden secrets I haven't found yet.
Or maybe the animals are trying to encourage you to build a B&B here so they can sacrifice humans again. I don't know. Maybe that's why humans avoid the area.
Maybe this is the prequel to Cult of the Lamb.
Oh my god, can you imagine that? So, oh, so good. I feel like that's another talking off point, because like I do want to talk about Cult of the Lamb because it's such an interesting game. But I also feel would just tie a little bow around this one and say thank you Aussie Broadband for bloody good game of the week. We've got a couple there that you should check out and see how you go with it.
And if anyone else wants to share their bloody good games of the week with us, let us know.
Exactly. But yeah, so it is Cult of Lamb. Like I want to talk about this because I think, like you, Stormy, I didn't know that this was an Australian company.
I didn't realize that till recently.
Yeah, Massive Monster is a studio out of Melbourne. And we love seeing Aussie devs do really good things. And the fact that they got in with Devolver Digital, like they produce such amazing titles, and it's so fun to see them when they do well. But Cult of the Lamb in particular, like we were talking before the show, and if you ever remember there was a web series called Happy Tree Friends. Yeah. This is basically that in game form to me. It's just this overload of cuteness, and then it's going to kill you. Or even what, like, what was it? There was an episode of South Park where Cartman starts telling this cute little Christmas story with all these little woodland critters and whatnot, and then it turns out that they're trying to sacrifice something, and like because they talk Stan into killing some tiger or something. But that was what was keeping the evilness of these cute little woodland creatures at bay. That's what this feels like. That it's quite a weird mashup of genres as well, where you've got the base building, almost Animal Crossing style relationship manager, and then you've got the roguelike side of it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think what I love about it is just that juxtaposition between kind of what Doom Cutie's saying at the moment. I'm just saying, I've been loving Cult of the Lamb. I've never felt so cutely evil. It's just, again, it's just the weird mix of the two. You have this adorable animation, and I've seen a few different little sneak peeks and trailers they've been putting out and lead up to the release, and you go, oh, it's so cute, and then you see like, sigils and weapons and eyes turning red and things like that, and I can't help but laugh because it's endearing, but it also makes you go, actually, what is this? Like, this is not what it looks like on the surface. But like you said, yeah, it's an interesting kind of mashup of different genres, and I think all the things you've just said in terms of management, roguelite as well, which we'll go into later, because or even I don't know if you want to even start bringing it up now, because I love roguelite.
We'll get into that in a minute, because I have some things that I would like to
Keep
say
your
about that.
feelings
I'm,
about it at
I'm
bay if you can for
I'm
now.
going to bottle them up for a little bit longer because one of the more interesting things I've seen about it is the Twitch integration. So for those
Tell me
streamers
more
out there,
about that.
yeah. So I don't know if you've seen it, but if you go and watch a streamer that's playing this game, you can interact with their game if they've got the extension on their Twitch channel. So
Mm.
you can appear in their game with your name and you can help out doing things around
Oh,
the
that's so
place.
cool.
Yeah, and like I haven't gotten into it in depth, but yeah, it looks really cool and just another way to help streamers in what's the word? My brain no work
Interact.
good today. Interact, that's the word. With their chats as well. So um, it's a cute little game, and I think it's. I was reading an article earlier on it that says that they're based on the pre-orders they got from this. They've already paid back their investment, which is an amazing thing.
That's incredible. I think that's really incredible. And we were both of us were looking at together to see where it kind of was on Steam, and it's one of the high ones up there in
Mm.
terms of like the top sellers at the moment. And I don't know about you, and kind of going back to the Twitch side of things as well. Almost in the last week, the majority of the people that I've been following have been playing Cult of the Lamb. And I'm the temptation for me to get it and play it is there. Just can't afford it right now, but when I can, I'm jumping onto it immediately.
Yeah.
I need to know more, and it's a double-edged sword where I'm trying to avoid knowing as much as possible, but then I also want to see everything that it's offering because everyone's raving about it.
Yeah. And I'm getting pulled in, and like I'm gonna turn the faucet on a little bit to let this out. But I'm not a huge fan of base builders and those manage. Well, I like the management type games, but I like more like the Sim Cities and stuff like that. But like when it comes to especially managing relationships of people, like characters in game, not a huge fan of that. Not a fan of roguelikes either, or rogue lights, or likes lights, whatever it is. And both of those together in a game don't really interest me. But I sit there and I watch streamers play this game and I go, I kind of want to play this.
Maybe this one will be the one that will turn you not only for roguelikes, but also for management stuff.
No,
Maybe.
no,
You
no.
say no,
Not,
I will clip this. You'll play
do
Cult
it.
of the Lamb,
Clip
and we'll
it.
come back.
Sure. No. Yep. It's still. Yeah. No. I am firmly in my like. I don't get rogue style games like. They're hard. They're not enjoyable for me to sit there and go like. The only one I found remotely enjoyable is Hades, and I did really like that. But I haven't gotten past the first boss because it's too hard for me.
Medusa? Not Medusa.
Meg.
Meg. Sorry. Yeah.
And yeah, like, but the stuff that happened in between made Hades interesting. But yeah, for the most part, no, not interested in a roguelike. I'm not interested in procedurally generated stuff because if I'm not good enough to beat the game, I want to at least be able to remember what's coming next so I can prepare and try and counter it. And roguelikes just don't give me any of that.
Well, I had that kind of idea about that genre of game before I played Hades. Hades was the first one, and I know I've mentioned it on the podcast. I feel like it numerous times now about how much I've fallen in love with it. I've actually got Hades merch on the way to me as we speak,
Nice.
just because I was just so invested in the story and stuff, and I knew there were other games that I had in my backlog, like even like Returnal, Deathloop. I also started, but nothing gripped me more than Hades because I think the thing with the roguelike genre is to I think it's a big challenge to want to make the player, especially after something that is so grindy, and so challenging, come back and want to do it again. I think that's what Hades does really well artistically and through its narrative. I feel like it does it really well. And
So,
I think, sorry,
sorry,
go on.
I just wanted to get on. I just wanted to mention, would you call Deathloop a roguelike, or is
Oh,
that?
sorry, not a roguelite, but just more so like the having to like go back and replay a part. I realize I've kind
Mm,
of mixed up the two concepts there, but
yeah.
there's been a big surge of games where it's like, okay, you die and you got to replay that part again.
Mm,
Whether it is a proper rogue like game like
mm,
Hades, or whether like Deathloop with its concept of time and
mm.
reversing time
Because
and things like that,
I was
really
going to say,
interesting.
if Deathloop is there, then I played Majora's Mask with its 3-day mechanic, and that's
Mm.
definitely not a roguelike.
Yeah, yeah. No, I realized as soon as I said Deathloop, I thought, why did I say Deathloop?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think, but it's not quite the same. But it's interesting how there's been this. I feel there's been this little surge of like the concept of the game, like mechanics is reversing time or going back or replaying
Mm.
something. And that repetitiveness, I think that's what I was trying to say is like that repetitiveness and that nature has to be done well. And I think what I like about Cult of the Lamb is that because it has so many different components to it that it offers, like with the management and then the relationship stuff side of that, just gives that a little bit more oomph. There is a bit more to it than just that. I'm more intrigued to see if you do pick it up, Jim, and just see whether I know there are other elements that you don't aren't particularly fond of, but
How
whether that might just
how
I
much
don't know.
how much is it? Let's have a look. How
I think
much?
it's just under $40.
Yeah.
Like I'm just curious. I'm like
Maybe I'll wait to see if it pops up on Games Pass.
I know that if I could have it, I'd have it right now. I'd be playing it because it like all those different features that the game offers really speaks to me. And yeah, I don't know. I've always had this weird fascination with the idea of um I guess replayability in some aspect, but the repetitiveness of something. I don't know. Maybe that's why I've always enjoyed roguelites or any games that kind of played with the concept of time. I think is really really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't have a problem with like the time mechanics. Like Deathloop seems like an interesting game but that's one, it doesn't change. It's not that procedurally
No.
generated thing that roguelikes tend to get. Um, it's the same. You know where things are going to be. You do certain things and it'll progress the story. Like I said, it's like Majora's Mask as well. It had
Yeah.
that time loop mechanic, but everything was still in the same place. And that's what gets me about roguelikes in general is that I just I can't I I just button mash half the time in those games, and at least when I learn where things are appearing, like
Yeah.
Death's Door is probably a good one. I can talk to about that because that one had some quite challenging combat, but enemies spawned in the same locations. You knew as soon as like when you got into an arena of sorts, an enemy spawned there. You finished him, and you knew the next one was going to spawn over there, so you could prepare for
Mm.
that. You knew where you were heading. Um, but yeah, just and roguelikes as well for me, just at some point just seem to turn into a bullet hell game where you just dodging so much. There's so much on the screen, so much either throwing stuff at you or just trying to attack you, and it gets a little bit out of hand for me. And that's why I personally don't like them. And but that said, here's the thing though: out of everybody that I've watched playing Cult of Lamb, I have
Mm.
yet to see them do the dungeon section of the game. It's all been
Yeah.
base
Right.
building.
That's all the stuff that you've seen. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like when I've been lurking in channels and whatnot. Like everybody seems to be really focused on the management side of it rather than the roguelike side of it.
You know what? Okay. I'm. This is still on topic, but then also like I've just discovered something. So I was looking into Deathloop. So roguelite and roguelike
Yeah.
are two different things.
Yes. So do you know the history of the term?
No, because
So
apparently, well, no, because the reason I'm saying this as well, because apparently, according to Game Rant, Deathloop is a roguelite,
yeah,
but not a roguelike.
so back in early days of gaming, I'm not sure whether it was like late 80s or early 90s sort of thing, there was a game that was called Rogue, and it featured permadeath. So you died, you had to start again with nothing.
Yeah.
So when people say it's a rogue like, it means it's exactly the same
like
as that.
Rogue.
Yeah, you die
Yeah,
and
okay.
that's it. And Rogue-Lite is where you still have that mechanic that happens, but in between your runs of the game, you can do things to make your run easier. So Hades, for instance, is a Rogue-Lite because you can upgrade weapons and get more skills in between runs, which are permanent upgrades.
Yes, of course. Okay,
Yeah.
this is all making sense now because I've never actually sat down and go, okay, what's the difference between light and like? And I thought people were saying the same thing but differently when it
No,
isn't. So this is like my mind has just been like fully awakened to
yeah,
the absolute confusion I've had this like the last year going like light
Yeah.
they sound similar too, and that's also really annoying.
That's why I was stumbling over my words earlier on. I'm going light, like, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, no,
right, okay.
they are two different styles of game based on the original game called Rogue.
Yeah, right. Well, if any listeners or watchers are kind of somewhat gaming newbies like me, we all learned something really interesting today.
But it's an interest. It like I have this fascination just in the world in general about where words come from. Like these days, 90% of people would say roguelike or roguelite game and not realize where the term came from.
Yeah.
And it's even like regional things. Here in Australia, we'll say esky. We're going to put it in the esky. But everyone else in the world will say we're putting it in the cooler. And it's only because esky was a really successful brand of cooler here. So everybody just calls it an esky. It's like
a thermist.
Yeah. Or even a Band-Aid. I'll go put a Band-Aid on it. To most of the world, it's a plaster. But to Australians, it's a Band-Aid because they were just a really successful band of plaster.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't English great? Or isn't the language isn't language in itself just absolutely fascinating?
Well, it's also interesting because there have been cases of companies losing like trademarks and branding over a thing because it just enters the public vernacular so much that it comes to mean a generic thing rather than the actual specific product. And I was trying to think of like an exception, but I'm trying to remember exactly, but I'm reasonably sure there was a push at some time by Google to stop people saying, oh, just Google it, because it was becoming to mean just instead of going to Google and searching for it, the term was becoming to mean just search it somewhere.
Yeah.
And it could potentially mean that Google would lose ownership of the Google name, which is once again incredible to me that it would happen. But yeah, it has happened in the past, so companies are well aware of that. It's interesting. Like, now you've got me started on interesting stuff. No, I like it because like I tell people like I went to a quiz night a couple of weeks ago, and I was coming out with.
Oh, you'd be good at a quiz night. I feel like
I have some very random knowledge in my head, and you know I've been lucky enough. I've lived a pretty broad life, I'd like to think, and I've travelled a fair bit. I spent, like I've said before, I spent a year backpacking through Europe, and so I've learned a lot of broad history strokes type thing. But there are certain things that just stuck in my head that you go, oh, I know this now, and that's a really cool fact. Like the term daylight robbery. You've heard of that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it originally came around because someone in England thought it would be a really great idea to tax how many windows you had. So rather than pay the tax, people were bricking up their windows and calling it daylight robbery because they were literally stealing their sunlight because they couldn't afford to have that many windows.
Oh, there you go. Another
Yeah.
fun facts with Jim.
That's it. I reckon we should make that
A whole new segment.
Yeah. Fun facts with Jim. Just let Jim go for a bit, you know. Oh my God, I'm trying to.
I was gonna say if we're circling back to Cult with the Lamb, I would love to know. I know Doom Cutie and Reflex have played Cult of the Lamb, and I'd love to hear more from anyone else who has played it because I am just gonna live vicariously through you until I can get my hands on it.
I wonder if Menthonzo's tried it because he really loved Binding of Isaac, and he still plays it, like his Monday night streams on his channel.
They're really into Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, so I must admit I haven't seen him or heard of him talking about other roguelike sort of games, so I don't know if that's sort of his jam. But yeah, it would be interesting to see if he's trying Cult of Lamb. But no, it's like I said, it's really great to see an Australian dev doing so well with the game, and that, like I said, that made their investment back with the pre-orders. And there's from what we've been hearing, there hasn't been official numbers released, but it sounds like they're on track to sell 1 million units in their first month.
Yeah, that they said they wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Yeah,
and then according to what's the article you got up here? Because I just found it really.
It was from it's Queensland. Oh, it's the Queenslander. There you go.
The Queenslander. They've said. Scroll down for me. Sorry, I've lost it.
Oh, good. Sorry.
It said here that I guess if you're a Cult of the Lamb fan, it says the large number of gamers trying the game have uncovered bugs, but the massive monster team is working to fix them, devoting the next 12 months to update and new content. So keep your eyes out for all those updates and new content coming your way. I think we're going to be absolutely what's the word? Absolutely spoiled with any new content they give us, given how many people are enjoying it just as it is right now.
That's it. And look, I feel like Australian game devs have been getting some really good games out over the last few years. Like, do you remember? I think it must have been 2020 sometime when Untitled Goose Game came out. And just like, it seemed like every second streamer was playing that. And that was made by a Melbourne studio as well. Yeah. But it was just this stupidly annoying goose, and you were annoying other people. And it was just, it was just the right mix of silly fun and doing stupid things. And it's so good.
And I remember I was so addicted to it because I got it on the Switch as soon as it came out, and I took it everywhere with me, like every spare moment I had, because like to go back and do the extra little quests to do certain little missions or little objectives and stuff was so endearing and so fun. And then as soon as I put in multiplayer as well at some point. Yeah. And the absolute chaos of having two geese honking at once was just so good. And
you know what I want? I want the goose in Smash Brothers.
Yes. And then have you seen the memes or the pictures with the goose with a knife in its mouth?
Yeah.
Oh. Yes, that's the weapon of choice. And a big honk to like knock the players away.
I always
Nintendo,
remember,
you're sleeping on this. You're sleeping on this.
I always remember like the memes that, you know how like death comes along and there's like reaping something, and it says, and like it said, like, no, you see it with dogs sometimes. Was I a good boy? And death goes, no, you were the bestest of boys. And like there was one with the goose. Was I a good goose? No, you were awful. It's just
you were a terrible goose. Well, I actually didn't know either, and this might be like late news to me. I didn't know Hollow Knight was an Aussie title.
Yeah, Adelaide studio. There's, like I said, there are so many good games, and it was on the list of things that we might talk about, but we talked about it a bit last week and didn't really have anything more to add. But there are 36 Australian game studios at Gamescom. Like 36. There is an Australian pavilion at Gamescom, man. And that, I love that. I love
That's so
how good
impressive.
they're doing.
Don't we feel so proud? Like, I feel really proud. Like, you saying that, I'm like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, there's 36 Australian, like,
Yeah.
you know. I think that's wicked. That's
Yeah.
so exciting. I'm so excited to, obviously, we can't wait to see what comes out at Gamescom.
Yeah.
So, I think there'll definitely be a lot to talk about after that.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's next week, Gamescom.
Yeah. Not far away now.
Yeah. I've been trying for what seems like the last 10 minutes to try and find a segue into this next thing to talk about, but it's not happening. So I'm just going to say, let's talk about this. Because Sony might be working on a PC game launcher. So, like, it seems to be the bane of PC gamers' existence, like whether they're loading up Steam or Epic or GOG or whatever Ubisoft's one is, or EA. Oh no, because Origin and all those sorts of things, because they hate game launchers for some reason. And I'm just sitting there going, well, in my console days, if you wanted to play Sonic and you only had a Nintendo, guess what? You either didn't play it or you went and bought a Sega, whatever. So I don't mind having other launchers, but it is an interesting thing because I think Sony have been working on this strategy to bring their games to PC, and I'd like to think that Microsoft has kind of forced their hand in doing that, with seeing how successful they've been with Game Pass and releasing on the Xbox app on PC as well as across Xbox One and the Xbox Series range. But the reason people are starting to think this is because the latest Sony released PC game, Spider-Man, they've been data mining the game's code, and they've found references to a PlayStation PC launcher, and also things to link to your PlayStation account. So, I mean, it wouldn't be unheard of. Like I say, Microsoft have got their own launcher, so, but they're also more in the PC space than what Sony has ever been.
I think it would be interesting. I don't know, like, to have a PlayStation PC games launcher and what they'll have to offer, as opposed to, I mean, obviously the big competitor being the Xbox app or the the Microsoft Store and stuff like that too. Do you think this is something we'll be seeing soon, or like, if we're going to speculate, I don't think we'll be seeing this for a good amount of time. I'm
not even sure if we'll see it full stop. Like, I don't know that Sony's current offerings definitely aren't big enough to warrant their own launcher. And why would you want to invest in maintaining that environment unless you're going to release more games that way, I guess. And I just want to take this quick little break to say, Doormat, thank you so much for that raid. Very much appreciated. And we missed it a little bit earlier, but King Zulban, thank you for the follow. That was a little while ago as well, but thank you. We very much appreciate you guys coming in and watching live on twitch.tv/GameOnOz. But yeah, look,
this wasn't on the things I thought I would tick off to see news of. Things this year. This thing's very odd, and I'm interested to know what chat also thinks as well, like about the PlayStation PC games launcher, whether this is something that will actually come to fruition or not.
Cool.
Or whether this is a hint at, like, obviously bringing more of their exclusive titles to PC, which, I mean, I think they will, and how soon that might be, don't know.
I'm still not so sure how much like I haven't seen any figures around this, but also thank you Reflex coming in with a raid as well, getting hit left, right, and center with raids.
Oh, double raid! Woo!
Hey,
thanks,
so good.
Reflex. We were just talking about you earlier too.
We're
just talking about Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, that's it. And how apparently you killed Gamma in Cult of the Lamb.
He's gone. Oh,
he knows what we're talking about now. But yeah, in terms of a PlayStation PC launcher, look, the general feeling around PC gamers is, if it's not in Steam, I don't care. Epic kind of gets a look in because they keep giving away free games. So I think there is a huge section of the community out there, not just us, but in the PC gaming community, that have an Epic Game account just to download the free games. And I'm guilty of that. I think I bought like one game on the Epic launcher, and that was the Evil Dead game.
Look, Bethesda's here too.
Oh, we were talking about you earlier too.
We were just talking about Bethesda too. Everyone's ears have been burning. I don't know if I'm going to sound lazy, but I'm just thinking, oh my god, not another bloody launcher I have to install on my computer. Like I've got Amazon Games as well. Like that's its own launcher.
All right, I'm going to show you this because I'm on my computer at home. So let's have a look at this. So here's my thing. These are all my launchers right here. Some of them only do one game. Like, I've got Polarium there because a while back I did a sponsored stream for Raid Shadow Legends. Yes, I did. I'm not even sorry. War Thunder launcher, Wargaming does the World of Tanks stuff. And even on this side, you've got all the single launchers for Final Fantasy, League of Legends, Magic the Gathering, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So look, launchers don't bother me because I've got the tools to have them nice and organized, and I know where I want to go to. So,
are you trying to say I'm not organized? Or actually, I'm looking at my desktop right now, and it's very messy, just filled with lots of different launchers and screenshots and shortcut to applications and things like that. But yeah, it's just, I mean, not that I'd also be that kind of person that would say, oh no, I only get my things off Steam. Like, I think that's a little bit silly. Like, if there's something I really want another launcher, like, yeah, I guess I'll download it. But I guess that part of me is like, oh, not another one. Look,
if the new launcher's got something to offer, but it has to be doing something different, and that's why I think, like, Epic gets a lot of shit for what's seen as anti-competitive stuff by going, oh, we've got an exclusive game, and all the PC gamers go, but put it on Steam, I don't want to use Epic. And there are some valid reasons for that. Like, Steam's been around for years and years and years and has really good stuff like the achievements that people like.
So do you think it's more of a loyalty thing as to people not going over to...
I think it's more of it's entrenched.
A stubbornness.
Yeah, not so much a loyalty thing, but just why should I go somewhere else when I've been here for years? It's like the old man in the flood that go, I've been here through 3 different floods. I didn't leave in 1979. I'm not going to leave now either. Yeah, sort of thing. It's... Yeah. Look, it'll be an interesting thing if Sony does bring a PlayStation PC games launcher, but like I said, I don't think that there's enough PlayStation offerings right now.
I don't think we'll see it personally anytime soon.
Yeah, not and even if you started offering different things, like if you offered people the chance to come and sell stuff on your platform, I don't think that would work because, how much money did Epic have to spend to get those exclusive games to them to be that competitor for Steam? And I'm not... Sony's,
they have all that Fortnite money.
Yeah. Well, they got all that Tencent money. And that's not that Sony's not short on cash either, so they could potentially do it, but I would be asking, why are they doing it? The only way I can see this becoming a reality, if there's some facet of their PlayStation Plus that they might be looking at going, let's maybe introduce this to PC. And that would make sense in that regard.
Perhaps.
But I'm not sure they're that all in on that service yet. I think they're still dragging their feet a bit. Whether that's because they don't want to do it or whether that's because they're still getting the background technology set up for it, like how they're not allowing PS3 streaming in Australia on the PlayStation Plus here. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I guess time will tell. And really the only thing we've got to go by now is a few lines of code that were data mined out of Spider-Man to say that there's some references to this. And there are references to all sorts of things that get left behind in games just because they haven't the devs didn't get around to remove them or forgot them. Like I forget, there was a game somewhere that had references to a multiplayer mode which had been scrapped. So but that's
like
still
Spider-Man.
in the code. Yeah, well, actually, that might have been it. Actually, there might have been that there was remnants of the multiplayer code in there. There's even stuff like even really old games. Rather than deleted off the cart, it just got left there and walled off and said, "Oh, they can't get to here without glitching or using external tools." So they weren't worried about it. So,
Well,
but
I guess only time will tell with this PC launcher. Then
that's it. Maybe not in a week though, because
no.
I think we'll be here next week as well. Actually, you know what? I've been sitting on this for a while because I've been waiting to sort of try and find a good way to announce it. But a couple of us here at Game on Oz, myself and Pete, have officially been confirmed to be on a PAX panel. I know that there's a lot of that stuff going around, so we're doing a panel on the Friday of PAX for how to run a charity stream, and we've gotten in with Jake Truman from Wargaming, who him and his offsider Kevin did a charity drive for Game on Cancer towards the end of their ANZ PL season. And also we've got Shane Bailey from Game on Cancer and a couple of people from Movember as well in on that. So we're going to have a chat about how we can help people, how you can just get some ideas for charity streams and stuff like that, and what you want to do, and just to make the process a little bit easier.
It can be a really daunting thing to do a charity stream. I'm doing one at the moment for Starlight Game Changers. But so I'm excited to see this panel. I'll be there front row. I'll be watching.
But yeah, and I'm excited to put it together too, because I've done a couple myself. One for Movember and one for Greater Shave for a Cure. And Pete himself did one for Game on Cancer as well a little while ago. So yeah, look, I'm looking forward. I'm just looking forward to going to PAX in general. I can't wait. It's only a couple of months off now.
Yeah.
Was it October?
It's starting to feel a little bit more real.
It really is a couple of months off. Like it's 2. What I've forgotten the exact.
Less than 2 months now.
October 7th, I think, somewhere around there.
7th, 8th, 9th.
Yeah, so that's less than 2 months. Probably looking at about 7 weeks.
Good. So exciting.
It's almost at the point where you can legit start talking about it in weeks and not get weird looks.
Yeah.
I love it. But that's about it for the weekly show. Love it. Thanks for everybody for joining it. Thanks for the raids from Reflex and Doormat Live over on twitch.tv/GameOnOz. I'm not about to say GameOnOz.com, but it's just Game on Oz. Yeah, it's been a blast chatting with you about Cult of Lamb and our bloody good games of the week, thanks to Aussie Broadband. And I already can't wait for next week.
It's good. We're gonna have so much to talk about next week as well.
So good.
Especially with Gamescom and stuff. Like I'm excited. Who knows? Maybe I'll cave and get Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah,
and we can discuss.
I must admit, like, I got my tax check earlier this week. I think I can't remember. I got memory like a goldfish. I think I talked about getting a new fridge delivered today. And I got that with my tax check, and I've still got some left over. And part of me is going, "Come on, at least try Cult of the Lamb, see what it's like."
Do it.
Do it. Normally I'd go, nah, $40. I'd rather have that in my wallet, but I've got a fair bit left over there, so maybe. No promises.
Well, keep us updated.
No. If you hear random screaming somewhere, then you'll know what's going on.
It's probably you.
Yeah, that's probably me. Anyway, once again, I think I've tried to say goodbye like 3 times now, so this is it. Bye, everybody.